For so many people, buying a home in California is the dream. But what happens when that dream twists into a nightmare because of a dishonest real estate agent? Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down a powerful safety net that you've probably never even heard of, the Real Estate Recovery Account. It's this little gnome tool that can honestly make all the difference. So, to really get a feel for how this whole thing works, let's dive into a true story right from the files of the California Department of Real Estate. It starts with a family, probably a lot like yours, looking for that perfect place to call home. All right, just imagine this. You've got 5 kids, and you stumble upon an ad for this huge 5-bedroom house. The ad says it's in good condition. I mean, it sounds perfect, right? Well, this family sure thought so, and they were, beyond excited. And look, the agent wasn't just saying, oh, it's a nice house. No, they were making some very specific promises. A brand new roof, proper permits for all the work done, all systems in perfect working order. So hearing all that, the family felt totally confident. They went ahead and bought the place for $155,000. But that dream, it turned into a nightmare fast. Now, they kept asking for that official disclosure statement. The paper where the seller has to list everything wrong with the house. But the agent kept putting them off until the day after the sale closed. And what was in that document? Well, it was an absolute disaster. Just take a look at this list. That new roof? Yeah, it was a decade old and leaking so bad the ceiling had literally collapsed. The extra room and bathroom they were so excited about? Totally illegal, no permits. The utilities were so dangerous they were red tagged, which means you couldn't even turn them on. I mean, this wasn't just a house that needed a little TLC. It was basically a death trap. And here's the real kicker. Contractors told them it was going to cost a minimum of $40,000 just to make the place livable. The family wasn't just heartbroken, they were facing total financial ruin. So they did what any of us would do. They sued, and they won. A judge awarded them $50,000 for fraud. But here's the gut punch. The agent had no money. No assets, nothing. So a win in court doesn't mean much if you can't actually collect the cash, right? What do you even do then? Okay, so this is where the story takes a really interesting turn. It turns out California has a safety net designed for exactly this kind of situation. It's a last resort for people who've become victims of real estate fraud. So what is this thing? Well, you can think of it like an insurance policy for consumers, but it's one that's funded by the real estate industry itself. When an agent commits fraud and just can't pay up, this fund is designed to step in. And this isn't some brand new program they just cooked up. It's been around since 1964. And over the years, it's paid out millions and millions of dollars to people who've been seriously wronged. It's a long-standing promise to protect consumers from the bad actors in the business. But wait a minute, a multi-million-dollar fund sounds great, but where does all this money come from? Is this coming out of our taxes? Well, the answer might surprise you. It's actually pretty straightforward. Every single real estate agent in California pays into this fund with their licensing fees. So in a way, the industry is policing itself, making sure the honest agents are covering the cost of the dishonest ones. Yeah, and this isn't optional. It's written right into the law. 12% of every single license fee goes straight into this recovery account. The whole system is set up to make sure there's always a pot of money ready to help victims. And the state keeps a really close eye on the balance. By law, it has to stay above $3.5 million. If it ever dips below that, they pump more money in from those license fees to keep it topped up and ready to go. Okay, so let's say you're in this terrible situation. How do you actually get money from the fund? Well, it's not as easy as just sending an email. There's a whole process, and you've got to check some really important boxes first. Right, so you can't just write a letter and expect a check. First things first, you have to take the agent to court and get a judgment against them. And not just for any mistake. The court has to find that it was intentional fraud. On top of all that, you have to prove that you've tried everything you can to collect the money directly from the agent and came up empty. So here's what that process looks like step by step. You get your final judgment from the court. You prove you tried to collect. Then you file your application with the Department of Real Estate. They review everything, and you should get a decision within about 90 days. It's a really thorough system to make sure the funds go where they're needed most. All right, let's get back to the family from our story. So they had their $50,000 court victory, and they had the proof that the agent was broke. They filed their claim with the recovery account, so what happened? Well, the good news is their claim was approved. But the story has two sides. For the family, they got a check that helped cover some of their costs. But for the agent, the consequences were huge. His license was suspended indefinitely. He can't work in real estate again until he pays back every single cent to the fund, plus 10% interest. But, and this is a big but, the fund has its limits. Remember, the family won $50,000 in court. The most they could get from the fund for that one transaction was $20,000. And for any single agent, there's a lifetime cap of $100,000 in payouts. So you see, the fund really has a dual purpose. It's not just about giving some money back to victims. It's also about accountability. It's a tool to get those bad apples out of the industry and protect future homebuyers. Which brings us to the big question. Was it enough? I mean, for that family, 20 grand was a huge help, for sure. But it was only half of what they needed for the most basic repairs. The recovery account is, without a doubt, a crucial safety net, but it's not a complete fix. And it leaves us with a really tough question to think about. How do you balance helping victims while also being fair to all the honest agents who are funding the system? It's a conversation that really matters for everyone involved in California real estate.